Getting men to change their destructive ways by threatening to leave them, humiliate them, or cut them off in bed, it's a tale as old as time. Melania Trump must do what dozens of buildings around the world have done and take the Trump name off. Your unhappiness is obvious. You despise his creepy little monkey fingers touching your hand. Maybe it falls to you now, Melania. You can end this reign of terror, and all you have to do is channel your inner Taylor Swift and walk out the door. Is there anyone left who can check Donald Trump? Yes, Melania.
Bill Maher made some shocking claims on the influence of Melania Trump over Donald. In his mind, she possesses the power to topple the Trump empire with a single action. Would you like to find out? But if you are a committed American, please hit the like button so our message can reach the widest possible audience. So it would appear that Bill Maher has been reviewing his classical Greek literature comedy and classics. Who would have thought the idea for his scheme came from a play called List Rada, which is older than Trump's Hairspray? Those from your high school days, right? No excuse me as I fill you in. The women in this ancient Greek myth finally get sick of watching their men play battle. After that, what exactly do they do? Bedroom enjoyment was snuffed out, yes. Until the men behave themselves, there will be no hanky-panky. Now, Marr is considering why not incorporate this timeless advice into our contemporary drama. He has this irrational belief that Melania might be the hidden asset we were unaware we were lacking in. Imagine this carrying only a suitcase and a severe expression. Melania informs Donald that she won't tell him anything tonight or any other night until you stop with this election nonsense.
New rule, before leaving this election behind, we must all thank Donald Trump for the one good thing he did. He exposed evangelicals. But Republicans didn't get to play the Jesus card this time around because it's hard to bring up the Ten Commandments when your candidate spent his life breaking all of them. After so many elections where the candidates tried to out-Jesus each other.
Where the 12 Republican contenders are. Naturally, Maher is betting on Melania. Can anyone still make Donald Trump answer for his actions? He queries. Mueller failed, and Hillary never succeeds. He seems to be positioning Melania as democracy's last hope. Oh my, this is the juicy part. Ma is going full soap opera on this. He's not just recommending a temporary breakup. Melania Trump not only imagines herself leaving him, but he also sees her going to another man. Not just any old man, but a Mexican. Just think of the resulting furor on Twitter.
It's not anti-feminist to say that in addition to doing everything men can do intellectually, women also have another power, the power of the ultimatum. In the ancient Greek play Lysistrata, women end a war by denying to their men. It was the original Bush doctrine. President Hellboy has proved to be impervious to facts, reason, shame, and the law. But maybe if you left him for another man, especially if that man was Mexican.
Maher is intrigued by the idea and says that if the media concentrated all of its attention on the Trump divorce proceedings, Melania would drive him crazy. Melania dropped 200 pounds during the process, which is unpleasant, but will have a greater effect than Trump's ego. However, Melania has accomplished more. Oscar de la Hoya, who hails from Marr, is a true zinger. Ma claims that this is an instance of a below-the-belt strategy to lash out against Trump with an unprecedented level of conceit. I've never had a more incredible sexual encounter. With the exception of public dumping, Trump is the antidote to the Superman of egotism, capable of managing almost anything. Melania is barely noticeable on Trump's tax returns, but even without her, it's clear that a lot is being said. Since his own wife can't even provide him with real support, Maher says it's fair to wonder why she doesn't appear interested in helping him. How is Camp Trump coping with the woman who vowed to stick by him through thick and thin, and all those damn indictments conspicuously absent?
Toss his boxy clown suits on the front lawn. Just tell him, I'm leaving you and I'm taking our child. He would be stunned. We have a child? Now, I know I'm probably dreaming and Melania isn't going to do any of this, but what if she had someone to do it with? Divorce is always easier in pairs. What if you had a buddy, Melania? Mrs. Rupert Murdoch, Jerry Hall. And you two have a lot in common. Your husbands are ruining the world.
Bill, let's start with the obvious, or perhaps more appropriately, the invisible elephant in the room, that Melania has been hiding her identity in a way that would make Harry Houdini proud. Maher appears to be concentrating on the Trump marriage and has taken out his magnifying glasses. People, do you think there were issues in your partnership? This one has more warning signs than a Soviet march. Since his wife went missing, Trump has grown closer to Justice Kavanaugh. Discuss how important it is to support your partner, regardless of distance or country. While he thinks that lovely Melania's absence speaks volumes, he finds his supporting spouse's actions unpersuasive.
Trump hears some demonstrously false nonsense from some crank guest on Fox and tweets it out as fact. They're on this insane feedback loop. They're like that couple that keeps giving each other herpes. So, girls, you gotta step up. We have tried everything, but the more we resist these two menaces, the stronger they get. They're like the Night King in Game of Thrones.
The juicy part, however, is right here, as Maher has learned that Melania might be preparing for a major escape. Melania's silence suggests she's on her own and doesn't care if her wife doesn't show up when you're in trouble. He makes fun of Melania's Google search, "Does felony convictions invalidate a marriage?" as the epitome of what it means to be in a relationship. After all, isn't it the ultimate sign of true love to figure out a legal method to leave your husband?
Your unhappiness is obvious. You despise his creepy little monkey fingers touching your hand. So kick him to the curb. Slap away that hand for good. No more porn stars. No more stealing your makeup.
We also can't ignore Maher's scathing remark that Melania shoved Trump aside. He thinks she should take a vicious swipe at that hand since it hurts and has to be more painful than a terrible spready tan. However, Maher has this grandiose scheme in his mind wherein Melania abandons Trump for a different man, a Mexican man, rather than just any old dude. I think it would be fantastic to write about Melania's weight loss and her best sex experience. It's personal because it's the only belt that Trump has ever tightened. Maher says the scariest thing is that, without a public dumping, this might be Trump's Achilles heel. It's as horrible as any nightmare you may have when attempting to administer a spray tan, but he believes Trump can handle it all. Take a deep breath and let people on Twitter know that, to put it mildly, the Trump love boat isn't looking good. There are concerns that Melania has been replaced by a cardboard figure because of her conspicuous absence. Compared to Melania, Trump's tax documents are more widely known. Clearly, Maher states, if your wife won't even pretend to support you, nobody will. I didn't vote for him, so don't look at me. Melania's silence is like a cry from the rooftops.
Cavemen like Trump and Murdoch can't handle one thing: an ego lashing. Rupert has been married 4 times, Trump 3. Some guys just can't be alone. It's like how some guys get used to being in prison. They can't make it on the outside. When you're Donald Trump, wives don't leave you, you leave them. He would fall apart if she ever said, "Donald, there's nothing keeping me here. I can't love what you have become, and I found where you hid my passport."
In the event that ethereal attributes are the subject of discussion, what about Republican consistency? It's as if you have defined Waldo and an ocean of red MAGA caps. Bill Maher has been examining this GOP flip-flop festival, and it's a very unpleasant reminder that the party was once focused on law and order in regards to criminal activities. Their posture is currently more tolerant than Trump's stomach, but they were more resilient than a $2 steak. The receipts are with them, and he says, "Listen up, folks. Republicans are head-bobbing along when they say things like, 'Nobody is above the law in this country' during Hunter Biden's trial. But then it hits them. Oh my, that's also accurate for Trump. All of a sudden, they're going backwards faster than a unicycle clown, and things get weird from here." Based on the data Maher has obtained, a recent poll revealed that 77% of Republicans held granted that 58% of people now say, "Hey, it's fine. It is reasonable to hold the opinion that it was completely unacceptable for a convicted felon to hold the office of president. That is, until someone threw a MAGA hat at them." Republicans appear to be playing the rules for thee, but not for me game. Maher is also not letting Melania off the hook when it comes to the Trump family circus. He makes fun of the fact that she's probably searching for felony convictions that invalidate a presidency on Google at a rate that Trump can Twitter, which hunts her performance, which is reminiscent of her own take on Escape from Mar-a-Lago. If it were democracy in hot water, Maher claims they would react differently. Imagine it for a sec. They would be so outraged that they would be clamoring for punishment before you could say lock or pee. The catch, though, is that this is what Maher claims. If the reports about the MAGA caps are to be believed, Trump and his supporters are completely unaware of the consequences of this entire disaster. They treat him as though he has a get-out-of-jail-free card because only his hair is horrible and orange. They're also ignoring Trump's legal issues while fiercely criticizing Hunter Biden and every Democrat who has ever jaywalked. Mah's "There Are No Holds Barred" exposes that the story is about more than just Trump. Rather, it centers on a group of people who see the law more as a guideline than as a regulation. It's as though the Constitution is being treated as the pirate code. As everyone has seen, the Trump family turmoil is more about guidelines than actual rules. Let's compare it to the Bidens. The originality of Bill Maher's ideas couldn't be captured by a jalapeno margarita from Mar-a-Lago. Let's start with the Trump family. It's reasonable to assume that we're not the most sensible bunch. My beloved father's wife has vanished, and he is in more legal trouble than a shopaholic with a pilfered credit card. Amaya's reaction to political events in courtrooms seems negative. The Bidens are ours now. Just flip the coin. They have their own problems, of course, but Maher is offering an alternative perspective. He looks at Joe Biden in awe as though he were a superhero father. Maher thinks that Joe Biden isn't a bad parent because of Hunter Biden's problems. He's stating that sometimes kids go off the rails, and it's not always the parents' fault. As if Joe is praising Hunter in public, he practically gives Hunter a pat on the back. But the juicy part is about to happen. I am comparing Hunter to former problem children in politics, such as Roger Clinton and Billy Carter.
Trump has nothing in common with Jesus, who was from the Middle East. Trump wouldn't even let him in the country. Jesus healed the blind. Trump mocks the handicapped. Jesus turned the other cheek. Trump grabs your Trump just whines. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife." Trump says, "Fine, what about my..."
He basically says that every family has a black sheep, even in the White House, as if he were trying to normalize Hunter's issues and make them seem less alarming, much like Joe Biden. Maher praises him for his willingness to let the courts handle his son's issue, implying that a president ought to behave in this way and let the cards fall as they may. Joe is presented as an example of honesty. Let's go back to the Trumps for a moment. Maher is quite honest when he says, "It's like bringing your daughter to work every day at the White House," emphasizing how Donald has put his whole family, including Ivanka and Jared, on the payroll. Maher is taking revenge on Trump by drawing comparisons to his family. He cries, "I can't believe how one family is handling their personal problems discreetly, while the other is driven by drama and nepotism, like he's putting together a reality show that pits Keeping Up with the Bidens against in reality." What I'm doing in opposition to the Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago is making comparisons between families and ideas. He contends that these families' problem-solving skills reveal a tremendous deal about their potential as national leaders. Who do you want in charge? The Brinks family in Marr universe resembles the Brady Bunch more than the Trump family. It appears as though he is curious about whose family has to face the music or who does the circling. He portrays Joe as a calm, decent man who knows how to resolve marital disputes amicably.
This one had no talk from either candidate about how they start their morning with scripture. The Republican wasn't reaching out to his prayer warriors. And best of all, we were spared the sight of having to watch Hillary Clinton try and clap on the beat with a black church choir.
I'll leave you there, trying to prevent it from getting worse and turning into a national emergency. In contrast, the Trumps seem to be in an endless soap opera. To decide who prevails in the Maher family disagreement, it would be preferable to compare Biden and Trump's actions to apples and quite distinct oranges. It's up to you whether you want accusations or suggestions of rehabilitation in your family drama. It is like hiring a dog to cook a 5-course dinner. Chaotic, messy, and all you get is barking and nothing good. That is what it is like to have Donald Trump leading a country. Remember how he suggested injecting disinfectant to fight COVID-19? That is a prescription for disaster rather than a cure. His tax cuts effectively translated into a yacht discount for a billionaire, while the rest of us were left with little more than a rubber ducky. As unpredictable as a cat on a hot tin roof, Trump's foreign policy fluctuated wildly. One minute he was falling in love with autocrats. The next he was arguing via Twitter with our allies. It's similar to watching reality TV, except his environmental policies are on the line, and our country is in danger, repealing legislation at a rate faster than a car without brakes.
We are owed an explanation from the values voters as to how they could line up behind Trump. But when asked, couldn't name a single passage. Even Sarah Palin said, "Oh, for fuck's sake, it's not a newspaper." He also once accepted Jesus Christ as his personal Lord and Tailor.
It's similar to handing a pyromaniac in a pyrotechnic factory a lighter. Trump appeared to be going backwards in order to solve economic inequality and win a race, as evidenced by his slow response to the pandemic. Throw money at the rich and hope that it trickles down. But that didn't happen. Spoiler alert, leaving the rest of us to question if purchasing lottery tickets is necessary to remain in the race. The Trump presidency was like a bad sitcom, with lots of drama, gaps in the story, and fans eagerly waiting for it to end. A new screenplay is required, one that is more competent and less confusing at this critical point in the history of our country. Acknowledging the value of knowledgeable and capable leadership is essential. Joe Biden is well-versed in both domestic and foreign issues and has a long history of dedicated public service. During his tenure as vice president, Barack Obama demonstrated his ability to navigate complex political circumstances and his commitment to the welfare of all Americans. In his policies, Biden gives unity and economic stability top priority. A successful and sustainable future depends on access to health care and environmental protection. But Donald Trump's presidency has been marred by several scandals and a lack of cohesion. His approach to governance sometimes strikes one as chaotic, driven more by whims and self-interest than by a distinct vision for the country. For instance, Trump's response to the COVID-19 pandemic has come under fire for not moving quickly enough or collaborating with others.
Primaries evangelicals had a whole bouquet of religious nuts to choose from. Mike Huckabee. He's the devil. What part of pleased to meet you, hope you guess my name, don't you understand? Santorum, Scott Walker, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson. Ben Carson, who doesn't just walk with Jesus, they shower together.
Raising social tensions and making it harder for Americans to come together in hard times. His divisive language has also resulted in needless deaths and long-term financial hardship. Biden shows his commitment to logic and science in his style of governance. He understands the importance of speaking with professionals and utilizing the facts to make well-informed decisions. This is in sharp contrast to Trump's habit of disregarding expert counsel and the body of scientific evidence, which has often resulted in the adoption of harmful as well as ineffective policies.
White evangelicals go for Trump over Hillary 75-14, but only 19% of Utah Mormons. With one exception, and I never thought I would hear myself say this, but let's hear it for the Mormons, because apparently the Mormons believe you shouldn't vote for a lying, infantile scumbag just because he's on your team.
For instance, Trump's stance on environmental regulations and climate change has negatively impacted efforts to stop global warming and preserve natural resources. Comedians such as Bill Maher, with their use of sarcasm and humor, contribute significantly to the political landscape and should not be overlooked. Maher and others simplify complex matters for the general public by drawing attention to the shortcomings and ridiculousness of those in positions of power. Their actions serve as a sort of check and balance, encouraging citizens to think critically and holding authority accountable. For instance, Maher's criticisms of Trump have exposed moral failings and contradictions within the administration, prompting viewers to look into these issues more and scrutinize government actions more closely. Endorsing Biden is a vote for stability and competence. His comprehensive approaches to addressing challenges with healthcare, economic inequality, and the environment demonstrate a clear vision for the future. Biden's healthcare proposal aims to make healthcare more accessible and affordable, so that everyone in the country can receive the care they need without worrying about their financial situation. In contrast, the centerpieces of his economic policies are raising the minimum wage, creating jobs, and supporting small businesses, the backbone of the American economy. Oftentimes, Trump's policies help the wealthy and large businesses, but many average Americans find it difficult to make ends meet. For instance, the wealthiest individuals and institutions have disproportionately profited from his tax cuts, widening the income disparity between the rich and the poor. Furthermore, Trump's erratic trade policies have hurt American businesses and farmers by creating uncertainty and volatility in the market. Biden's experience in international relations is another significant benefit. He has extensive knowledge of international affairs and diplomacy, having previously served as the Senate Foreign Affairs Committee chairman. Biden, on the other hand, is in favor of strengthening alliances and regaining U.S. leadership in international affairs. The unpredictability of Trump's foreign policy and the alienation of significant allies have damaged American power and reputation abroad. Biden has consistently shown a willingness to interact with and listen to individuals from all walks of life, recognizing their concerns and ambitions. His honesty and compassion are crucial for healing the nation's divisions. Trump, on the other hand, has a habit of being disrespectful and aggressive, which has caused divisions and a toxic political environment. Bill Maher and other comedians use their platforms to bring up significant issues and encourage public discussion, which makes them indispensable to democracy. Maher's keen insights and courage to tackle sensitive topics have made voters more knowledgeable and engaged.
They believe underwear has magic powers, and you get your own planet when you die, and they let Donny Osmond claim he's a little bit rock and roll. But ask one if Trump would make a good president, and they're like, do I look like I was born yesterday?
Selecting Joe Biden as your candidate necessitates compassion and a commitment to the greater good. By exposing politician shortcomings and duplicity, Maher keeps law enforcement officials accountable to the public by exposing the shortcomings and duplicity of politicians. Biden's comprehensive plans, despite the fact that Donald Trump's presidency has been marked by an incapacity, polarization, and an inability to adequately handle pressing issues, Biden is the most qualified candidate to steer the country in the right direction because of his respect for science, knowledge, and commitment to harmony. Bill Maher and other comedians have played a significant role in bringing these flaws to light, encouraging an informed and critical voter base, and guaranteeing a better, more inclusive future for all Americans.